Do it now. Okay, awesome. So let me just give a quick context of these conversations. This is called What's Your Story? And my intention is to have a human to human conversation about our stories, right? Humans have beautiful stories. We connect through stories, and each one of us inside this group have a story to share. So sometimes we are going to share vulnerable stories, and sometimes we're going to share resilient stories, and sometimes we're going to share a mix of everything, right? So this is a platform, this is a conversation that I'm going to hopefully do every single week, but if not, twice a week with one community member. And I want to showcase the beautiful women that are part of this community. And to begin with, let me give you a quick introduction about Helena, because this entire conversation is going to be about Helena and her beautiful story. So, Helena is a no BS content marketing strategist. She's a business coach and she's the host of CEO Declassified. Oh my God, that's such a lovely name. She has over a decade of experience and she's known for her sharp strategy. I love her content and that's why I was drawn to her. And now we are part of a beautiful community as well. She has a storytelling expertise. So who is better to start this conversation about what's your story than Helena? She has a detective like ability to diagnose content gaps and turn chaos into clarity. She also helps coaches, service providers, and brands create intentional content that grows their community, deepens connection, and drives conversions without gimmicks or fluffs or any recycled templates. So I think this is exactly why I was drawn to her, because her content showcases this. It showcases the authority, it showcases her expertise, it showcases also the human that she is. It's not regurgitated content from AI, even if, I'm sure that you use AI in your life, and that's absolutely fine. But when it comes to your content, we can feel the words, we can feel um, the the connection, the understanding of humans. So I want to start. This was your background in terms of what you do, but I would love to know who you are, right? So tell us about that. Who is Helena? Where did you grow up? What did you like as a kid? Tell us.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey in the business world. And just as before we started recording, something you said about being self-led, and I was like, oh, I actually do resonate with that because I was never pushed into the business. I've always had this like creative thinking, and when I was a kid, I've always wanted to become a fashion designer. I never saw myself working a job, even though I was like, I knew the idea of a job, but being in the family of technical entrepreneurs, because my parents have always had their own business since I was born. And then I've seen my grandpa do sales calls until he was like around 78 years old or something like that. So I never saw myself working in a cubicle or, working for somebody else or being bossed around. I was always like very driven and very artistic, I would say, because I've done drawing since I was, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years old. um and I've always done like a lot of extracurriculum activities when I was, a kid, and then growing up. In school we've had a lot of activities going on. I was just telling somebody the other day, we used to organize a lot of events because I was studying in a Jewish school, so almost every month there would be something, and there would be like concerts that we would do at school. And I just remembered I used to sing in like, it was like a group of three girls in total. And I'm really bad at singing. Like, it's really impressive that I was even a part of that because I suck at singing. But like alone, I would never do that. But in a group, we kind of sounded okay. We had a pretty good teachers for that. So I've always done some sort of creative work. And I remember when my mom and I, we typically go to Russia every year to see family. So when I was a kid and we would go there, I was always like this quiet kid. Like, I would never, stirred chaos, never got into trouble or anything. I was a slightly troubled kid, maybe like when I was like 2, 3 years old, something like that, when I used, this is my love for makeup really coming through. I was very little, and then mom left me in a room for, I don't know, maybe like an hour or something. And she was like, just play with your toys, whatever. I found her lipstick, brand new lipstick that she just bought. And back in the 90s, it was hard to get. Like these days, we have makeup easily available. buy it online, whatever. So, and I used that entire lipstick, like I drew all over the carpet on the floor. So I think that was like the biggest trouble I've ever made. But I'm like, now when my mom shares this story with me, I'm like, oh, that just proves that I had love for makeup, and I was like drawing something with the lipstick already before I picked up, the pencils, and I could actually like write and draw. So, but yeah, like when we used to go to Russia back when I was a kid, literally my cousin, he would, get busy or like play chess with grandpa, or, do something around the house, or like run around or yell, and then everybody would ask like, oh, where's Jelena, where's, what is she doing? And I would just like sit in the room and like either read a book,
Mm.
because I learned to read pretty early. That's like another love, and how we also connected with you, Shani, is like all the books and the love for fiction. So I would always read something ever since I learned how to read. I'm like, I was just like browsing through the books quickly. So yeah, reading and art, drawing, I would always be like in the little corner, just like sitting and drawing, like doodles or girls in dresses and stuff like that. So yeah.
Mm. That's pretty, that's beautiful. I can imagine like little Helena drawing from the lipstick on the floor. So and I really feel like this is, you need to sometimes destruct something in order to create. Like destruction is part of the creative process, and I love that because as kids we are told that no, you don't need to do this. Like this is wrong. Don't create a mess. But I feel like mess is the beautiful part. From the mess we can create something beautiful. And if we start to and I'm sure that your life journey might have told you, like there's so many times that you actually felt like okay, nothing is working out, my creative but that also led you to feel this creative juices flowing, right? But like your entire, like whatever you've told me till now, I feel like this is a big part in your journey, where because you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and I think it comes from your childhood as well, seeing your parents, and I'm sure that they went through all these phases of destruction creation. Do you think, what is your perspective about this thing, like creation and destruction being part of the creative process? And I want to talk about this today because like the world that we see right now, right, like there's so much chaos, there's so much destruction, and it does not just come in our business, it comes in our life, it comes in the way we speak, it comes in our like our nervous system. So how do you see destruction as part of the creative process? Do you even see it like that, or do you have a completely different perspective?
Given the kind of world we live in right now, before I like give my opinion about the destruction and the creative work, I sometimes really have those thoughts. Again, I'm not a very political person or anything, and that's not what we're going to talk about here. But there are days when I'm like, I feel like we need to burn a lot of things to the ground, including, maybe like some countries, like in general, and just start over, because I feel like there's so much mess in the world right now. I'm like, can we just start over?
Yeah. Press the reset
messed up
button.
so much that we messed up so much that it's like the best thing to do right now is to start over. And there's also this concept of burning the business down and then starting it over.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely done that a lot. Like I've burned down coaching business, I've burned down some of my digital programs, I've burned down essentially my attachment to network marketing, because I used to be like, that was my first business. But I think in the creative work, and even in, let's say, let's use art for an example. Like the other day, my cousin sent me photos from, like, they took pictures of the old doodles that I was drawing. I was like drawing like all these like girls, and it's like I was just trying different things, right? Like it wasn't good. I looked at it and I'm like, oh man, this looks so bad. Of course, it got better over the years, and like I learned like human like structure and anatomy and stuff like that. But I remember drawing a lot of things, and I would just like, something doesn't work, and I would just like cross it off, and I'm like, this doesn't work. This sucks. Like I don't like it. So I guess that's kind of part of the destruction. And then also you need to, like, repetition leads to quote unquote perfection. I don't like the word perfection. Let's say, no, repetition leads to progress
Yeah.
and improvement, because we always suck at something in the beginning. And when we suck at something, we typically don't want to put it out there. And that's what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs as well. We try to perfect a group program, a 101, a master class, a piece of content. We try to make it as good as possible. And then I heard this phrase ages ago, like 10 years ago, when somebody said, if you are not embarrassed by the product that you put out there, you waited too long.
Mm.
And that's the issue, is we wait too long until it's perfect. And then, I've always, like, in the last, I would say, year, I've been telling my clients, do not stall too long on your content, because the longer you write one piece, or the longer you overthink the script of your video, the longer the more doubt you have, and then you end up overthinking it. Then you see somebody else on social media say something completely different than your beliefs, and then that affects your own beliefs, and you start questioning, is this the right thing to say? Just put it out there. Like, the shorter your like creation process is, sometimes it's the better, especially for all the overthinkers. But yeah, I do believe sometimes you have to burn things down, not in the little way, although sometimes it does help, but
Yeah.
it, like, and then repeat until something works. And I like to use this, it's not really an analogy, but more of a story. So about 2 years ago, or last year, I was in London, and I went to a museum with a friend, and we saw Van Gogh, what is it called, the sunflowers. So the sunflowers piece of art, it was the original there. And then I was talking to a couple of girls at the museum, and they were like, did you know there's actually 7 exact paintings that he did? And I did not know that. And he painted them, I think, over the span of like 6 or 8 months, literally the same exact thing. And the rest, I believe, are in some sort of museum in Amsterdam. And I'm like, this just goes to show that he kept repeating it until he was happy with whatever came out. The same exact thing. So when people say, oh, like, you know, I can't repeat my content online, people have already heard it. Well, Van Gogh didn't think about it. He made 7, pieces of art that look exactly the same, that are in different museums right now. So yeah, we kind of like derailed into a different conversation.
But that's what this is about, right? This is how you think, and this is how generally we think. It's not. It's also not a perfect interview that we are trying to do. It's a conversation, and I love the fact that you brought up Van Gogh, because there's so many people who look up to him as an artist, right? I don't know enough about him, so I can't talk about his personal life. But the way he saw the world, and I think as content creators, as business owners, uh, as artists, we have to also showcase how we see the world. And sometimes, because we have these doubts about ourselves, right? Who am I to think like this? Who am I to share my content? Who am I to share my worldview? We tend to forget that there are other people who are also on a similar journey, and they would love to know that they, because so for the longest time, I used to feel like the way I feel about myself is the way that only I feel about it, meaning that nobody else feels like I'm a burden, or nobody else has these doubts about, am I enough, am I not enough? But when I started to talk about my journey, and it was the most imperfect way, I just did like a 45 days content journey where I was sharing my life and how I have overcome my healing, my diseases, my healing. How can you overcome your healing? But overcome. So I remember that it was a very raw, real thing. And I think that is what we need in this world, right? Like you said, repetition always helps, because when I'm repeating it over and over again, it's also getting bolstered into my psyche, into my soul, that I can improve. And also I'll also start to believe in it more, right? And also, like, we are going to evolve, and then our understanding of the world will evolve, our understanding of our content will evolve. And there's so many people who just get stuck in the first bit, where they're like, who am I to post? Who am I to share my journey? Who am I to share my worldview? And I just want to say to that, like, I would love to know what you feel, but I would just love to say that you look at the people that you have been inspired with, and then imagine, like, if they sat down and they started thinking about, who am I to share? How would your life be? How different your life would be. Like, I have so many mentors that I look up to, and if they had not shared their journey, if they had not been self-led, and they had not been, even when with the fear that I have of what will people think, I'll still take charge, I'll still go ahead and do this, the world would be a different place for me. Right? For
Yeah.
me. So what do you think on that? How do
Yeah,
you think?
I
Yeah.
I really relate to what you said, because when I started in, I would say in social media, I was 19 when I started posting in English. And I understood the concept of content marketing and putting yourself out there and personal branding. Because I originally started working with Russians and it just didn't really work out for me. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to work with Americans. I'm going to work in English. It might be easier. It wasn't easier because it's not my first language.
Yeah.
So you probably can relate with that. Maybe a lot of, community members as well. And then once I was like, okay, I'm going to like try to start doing something. And I really don't like the word try, because it's like, in my opinion, sometimes it implies I'll try it. And if it fails, it fails.
Mm.
But sometimes that kind of attitude does work. You just try and experiment and you see, what works and what doesn't work. But for me, I had such a, like, my, can I cuss?
Sure. Yes, this is a
So
safe
I've had,
space.
because I'm trying to think of a word and it doesn't come up like any like decent word. So I've had such a mind fuck of like, who am I to post? I'm just this 19-year-old kid who just got out of high school. Who am I to post? Who am I to teach other people? Because in my mind, I was still conditioned from school that the teacher is supposed to be older than the student.
Mm.
And it was really hard to get over, because I was like, I really don't know anything. And I was looking up at all of these leaders that I was learning from, especially the people in network marketing, and they were speaking on stages. They had YouTube channels. And mind you, I started with zero. I had no audience, no brand. Nobody understood what I was saying because my English was really rough with like thick Russian accent. And I was also speaking fast. Like I generally speak really fast. So that was really hard to like not speak fast. And then people just wouldn't understand anything. In fact, my friend, who's now my best friend, she found my YouTube video, I think in 2016, and she was like, oh, good video. And she was looking for like a potential business opportunity or like an education platform. And she ended up joining somebody else because she was like, I saw you, I didn't understand what the hell you were saying. So I went with somebody else. And I'm like, oh, great feedback. Thank you, best friend, right? But yeah, I really had to get out of that mindset of who am I to post? And one of my mentors early on really switched my mind. He was like, you have notes, you have been investing in yourself, are learning something every single day. And he had this concept of invest, learn, teach. Now, the better way today is invest, learn, implement, and teach. That's a way better strategy. But back then, I was implementing things, but in order for me to implement something, I had to create content. Like I had to put myself out there, because everywhere I turned, people said, you need to create content, you need to, YouTube video, YouTube channel, it's content. And I was like, ain't no way I'm getting on a video. Like there's no way. I look terrified. Like I look like I have a gun pointed to my head. Blogging, I was like, I can't really write long articles. And that was before AI, before we could use any sort of helper. So people today have it kind of easy. Back then we had to do everything manually and like take the notes and whatever. That was like what, 2014, 2016, those years. And then one of my mentors said, if you are not sharing your knowledge, if you're not showing up, if you're not posting content, you're selfish. And I was like, what do you mean selfish? He's like, well, there are people in your audience, even if it's like 100 people, they're potentially waiting for somebody to step up and share either their story that they can resonate with, share valuable content, share authoritative content. And you don't know what's going to land. You don't know when they're going to read something of yours and they're going to be like, oh, damn, I want to work with that person. And I've noticed the big shifts once I started doing that. I would have people sign up to work with me, literally find my video. Like I remember there was this one time, because I was doing network marketing and affiliate marketing, like educational, like digital marketing. And I remember I was blow drying my hair, right? So on the random Wednesday, whatever, I was like doing all the marketing activities. I was, talking to people online. I was creating content. I had a YouTube channel at the time. I remember blow drying my hair and I was like watching something on TV. And then I get an email that's like, hey, you received a commission. And I'm like, from who? Right? And then I look at the name and I knew who it was, but we've never had a conversation before. And I messaged the guy. I was like, we're still good friends. He built like a massive business over the last like few years. And I messaged him. I was like, hey, I saw you joined. What made you join with me? he was like, oh, I've just seen you consistent. You've been posting content, and I really resonate with what you're saying. So I thought you were the best person to go with because of how how you show up. And I was like, wow, you never know who's watching.
Exactly. And I mean, my journey has been very similar. Like I said, I started this 45 days talking about my journey, about how I healed, and randomly two people, not even in my audience. And I still have like 1,200 followers on Instagram. And I started my journey on Instagram. I had like 500 people, and mostly my friends from college or school. And she said, I want to pay in full. I want to work with you because I like the way you have overcome your health issues and mental health issues. So you never know. And nobody is looking for degrees and whatnot. We are always looking for resonance. This is what I feel. And that's why my work is around energy. And I'm sure that you can also back it up, right? The energetic combined with the strategy. That is how we uh, but it's not the energy in terms of, oh, I'm going to be high five and then only I can share. It's about like really speaking your truth, and that truth can be vulnerable. That truth can be just you like again sharing your story. What's your story, right? And I'm pretty sure that when people watch this episode, and even if they're watching, I have forgotten to check the comments even, but I'm so engrossed in this conversation that when they see the real you, right? And now even having a conversation before you beforehand, but I'm getting to know so much more about you. I can relate to you so much more. I feel so much resonance. Like the image that I'll have of you will be that little Helena drawing. And that's how we connect, I feel. And these are the conversations that have we have somehow missed, and we have somehow forgotten that who we are is so more powerful than what we post, right? So people are connecting to you. And again, the visual imagery, thank you for that. Like you were blow drying your hair, and you were I mean, these are the pieces of, again, I feel like these are the tips that you also provide your clients, right? To have these visual reminders, because I love to do that. I remember there was one like last year I was traveling, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get a sale. But then, I mean, not exactly that. I hadn't posted in a while about my offers. And then randomly, I was brushing my teeth in the morning, and I received the payment. And I'm like, who is this person? And then I started this belief that I get paid even when I'm asleep, even when I'm, brushing my teeth, whatever I'm doing, I get paid because people find resonance in me with whatever I've done. Also, my existence is important. Like, I really did that kind of work where I went to my existence. Like, why are we here right now in this moment? I don't want to go into all of that, right? That's becoming too philosophical, but I want to know more about you. Like, how do you see energy and strategy? Because I have seen so many people talk, they are like, I need more healing in order to post. I need more healing in order to become the leader, become the business owner. I need more expertise. Again, how do you see that? And if somebody comes to you, how would you, start working with them in that manner? Like somebody who's brand new, who has this belief that, "Ah, maybe Helena, I need more coaching, or I need more experience, and I need more healing." What would you say to them?
I love that you mentioned the energetics and the strategy, because one thing that I've learned pretty early on is that the success in business is 20% of the strategy and then 80% of the psychology. And it literally goes for everything, for all your marketing strategies, for the way you show up, for how you hold yourself in even conversations like this. But every single time people say, and again, I have a very no BS approach. This is why probably I would never make a good therapist because like I would not be able to take people's bullshit. Like I'm like, there's professionals for that. Because every single time people say like, oh, I need more healing for this. And I'm like, again, I have such low bullshit tolerance level in the industry because people make so many excuses. And not to toot my own horn, but I'm like, I started by being too Russian for this industry. I used to literally say that. I'm like, nobody understands what I'm saying. Nobody views me as an authority. I didn't understand half the things the Americans were saying on these webinars because they would use these weird phrases that I didn't understand, or they would use so much jargon. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. I had a Google Translate open in a different tab at all times. And thank God for closed captions as well on videos. And these days we have them pretty much everywhere, which I'm sure helps a lot of non-native speakers. And then I'm like, okay, so to be healed, I feel like we're all messed up in one way or another. And waiting for you to fully be healed, you're just delaying the success. And I've always said, you waiting for 90 days to be healed, there isn't a competition. There's somebody else with way worse circumstances than you are, and they're making it happen regardless. And that whole victim mentality, especially, like it's a dangerous place to be in the industry and say, oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or this person has like so much success and for some reason I don't. It's like when you look at yourself and then another person who, which is also a bad thing to compare yourself to other people, when you two people start at the same time in business, right? And then one succeeds quickly, they are not better than you at anything. Maybe they're even worse, like if you're comparing in that sense. They just didn't tolerate their own BS. They said, I'm doing this regardless because I'm confident in what I do, even when I don't know what I'm doing. It's like that delusional energy. It really does help. And I sometimes say to people, it's good when you don't know much because you kind of do it blindly sometimes. And sometimes it does work. That's what I said to, I've been saying this to my friend a couple of years ago. I'm like, I wish I knew less because that way I would actually do a lot more without overthinking everything. So when you are in the industry, like especially in the online space for a very long time, you sometimes start questioning yourself because of like multiple different things that are brewing in your mind. You're like, oh, is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing this? So I do feel like, again, we're all fucked up in one way or another. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she said we all have trauma. Like no matter how we were raised, even if you were raised in a good family. Again, I was raised in a good family, but I'm pretty sure I still have like trauma around certain things. Like sometimes certain things come up, but you don't let it completely like overtake your life and get into that victim mentality and like, oh, like this is so bad, like I can't do this. Unless of course you're, like I don't know, like somebody's listening to this and they have health issues and you actually do need to heal. In that case, yeah, like do everything you can. But I'm not the kind of person that's lets excuses get in the way.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for me, what is healing is super important, but the fact is we need healing forever. There's no denying that because we are going to
Yeah,
have
it doesn't
experiences.
stop.
We're going to have experiences, and even when I work with my clients, and I work in the healing space, right? I'm not working in the content space. So I always tell them that as a coach, my duty is for you to feel so empowered that you take your tools and personalized tools at that. It's not the general bullshit, but personalized tools that you can use forever. I don't want to be in your life forever, right? I would love to help you in other regards and all of that, but as a coach, as a healer, I don't want to eh, mm, frighten you that you need me forever. Then what if that person already has an anxious attachment and that doesn't make sense. And I feel like that comes with choosing the right person for you, choosing the right healer guide, or and also knowing the fact that there are certain things that you are going to keep working forever, and every step of the way that you go into the ladder, you're going to have more things to heal. Like for example, when I started, I didn't know that I had these wounds about visibility, right? And the moment I started being more visible in my business, I realized, oh, I'm concerned about my accent. I had never thought about it because I was working with Indians, and I mean, I'm good at speaking in English, but I didn't know that it was such a big deal that before sending a DM or like a voice note, I would shiver. And then I started work on it. So all these healing that is required also comes to surface when you started to implement the work that you've been put here. We already have something to start with, and we forget that there is so much power in our stories, right? The more we tap into our stories, the more we start to share about our work, and the more things we'll recognize about what needs to heal. And when we have that kind of confidence, and I feel like the world is about confidence, right? The world is about being devoted to your becoming journey. Like you are going to be ever evolving. You can believe in something today, you can believe in something tomorrow. That is completely different. So you just start to rely on the fact that what I know today is enough for me to start my work today. And tomorrow, whatever needs healing, I'll find the tools, I'll find the right guides, I'll find the right mentors or whatever. But I need to implement first. When we take action first, then we receive the resources as well. We receive the guidance, we receive all of that. And I have seen in my journey, like I do, like you said, 90 days for healing. I have 90 days things, but I ensure that we are also implementing while we are healing, right? Because the kind of audacity that you get when you take an action, the kind of confidence that you get when you take an action, no amount of any other tool can give you that. You walking your own truth gives you that kind of confidence, and you don't need anybody outside of you to help you with that. um, in terms of action taking. But yeah, I mean, healing is important. That's my life work. I really know that it's important, yet you taking an action, you being self-led is more important. And I think all of us are, because we are always leading ourselves either to our demise or to our progress. So you need to ask yourself, what are you choosing? What are you leading yourself towards? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Your English is great, by the way. So whatever you've done to improve it or anything, like it's actually that when you said voice notes, I'm like, that's literally what I used. I was terrified of getting on the phone
Yeah.
because everybody, especially network marketing, everybody would say, you need to be on the phone, you need to pick up the phone and start dialing. And I was like, I don't like it. It's like even with my friends, I'm like, don't call me, send me a text message, then we can get on a call if it's absolutely necessary. And I love my friends, but I'm like, I've always been terrified of the phone. And when I was in school, we would actually spend hours on the phone with my friends doing homework, talking, watching TV, like on actual landline, not on the iPhones. But when I got into the online business, I was like, there has to be a way for me to improve English because I did cold calling. The first network marketing company I was with, I bought a list of leads because I ran out of people to talk to, right? I was like, okay, so I prospected my teachers, prospected my classmates, prospected all of my friends, signed up some of my family members into the business because at the time I was promoting like skincare products and then brain supplements, which were actually kind of helpful for my grandma who had Alzheimer's. But that's a whole another story. And I was like, okay, I don't have anybody to talk to. And then, of course, then I realized, okay, there's digital marketing, there's Facebook, there's, brand building and stuff like that. But I bought a list of phone numbers and people based in the US. And I found a script that the company provided. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna I was like sweating and like trying to dial the numbers. And it was terrifying. I sucked at it. And when I heard people just, send me places, when I called them and they were like, who the hell are you? What are you calling? And I was like, okay, there has to be a better way, right? But then, and my English also sucked. They were probably, who is this like Russian mail order bride calling? Like they probably thought something like this. And then I was like, okay, so there are voice notes on Facebook. And I remember making a couple of friends in the marketing industry. In the we were part of educational like subscription platform. And like I would literally just send them voice notes just to practice. I don't know if they realize that today, but I'm like, I would always send voice notes, preferably, because it was to my friends. I knew they weren't really going to judge me, even though some of them made fun of how I pronounce certain words. They still make fun of that. But yeah, it really did help. And like you said, you don't just wake up one morning and you're confident and you're fully healed and you're like, I'm gonna take on the world today. You get that confidence by taking action. Like you just like the hardest part is that first step. Just like dragging your ass to the gym, the hardest part is actually getting dressed, packing your bag, and going. Once you're there, you're like, okay, it's actually not that bad. Like nobody actually looks at you, nobody bothers you. You initially feel self-conscious, but everybody just minds their own business. And that's kind of how it is on Facebook as well, and in any social media platform. People don't just see your video and like, oh, like what is wrong with her hair here? Like nobody thinks that. We're always so much more judgmental of ourselves. We see in ourselves what other people don't see. And every time my friends tell me, they're like, oh, there's like something wrong with me on this video. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. You look beautiful. So, but you have to take that first step, because once you take action, you're like, okay, nobody judged me. It's okay. Like it's safe to move forward. Then you do it a little bit more. And that's what I did with content, with blogging, with you, with doing YouTube videos. And I was like, okay, so people aren't really judging me. It's safe to keep going and then see what happens. Then once you start getting the results in business, I've always said it's like it becomes like an addiction. You're like, okay, so I've generated leads, people are asking how to work with me. Then you get, Stripe notifications. You're like, okay, so I have to keep going. And then you're becoming more confident as you're getting those results, but you never get there by not taking that first step.
Exactly. And I feel this is what I tell my clients all the time, that nobody is thinking about you as much as you are thinking about you're thinking about them thinking about you. And everybody literally is doing the same thing. So just focus on yourself. Focus, come back and think about how you see yourself in the mirror, how you feel about yourself, and that go from there. The world is a beautiful place if we allow ourselves to look at it in the beautiful way, and that starts with us looking at ourselves in this beautiful manner. And yeah, I think all of us, we've been discussing, that we are leading ourselves to somewhere, but when we start being intentional, and I think that's the work you also do in your with your clients, right? Being intentional with your content, that will help you have conversations, and conversations always lead to conversions in the marketing terms, but helping you sell, helping you serve. I think that's the beauty of that's the beauty of content as well. Like, I love stories so much. Every content piece, I look at it from a perspective of how this person might have written it, right? I imagine that person as well, sitting in on their desk writing this, or being on their couch writing this, thinking about this. I love people. I love, as much as as much as am I an introvert, I'm still a lover of people. Like, I love to see people. I love watching people be in their element, and yeah, and that's the intention about this podcast interview as well. So I want to know, what is something that you're working on currently, be it your mindset, be it in your business. Like, give us, what are you working towards these days?
Yeah, so I've just ran a free masterclass 2 days ago, as of the recording of this podcast, and it was like the first free masterclass I did in, I think, 4 years. So it was really exciting to do. The energy was great. I loved running it, and there are days when you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm good at what I do. Like sometimes, like the unhealed like little voice still cripples in. And then I literally whipped out that masterclass together in, I would say, well, 3 weeks, like between the idea to execution. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, I actually am good at what I do. Like, and then being on time, because I'm usually afraid of like master classes being too long, because I do love to talk and I do love, again, like I'm an introvert, but I do love people and I love the conversations. And we probably could have stayed on that masterclass for well over 2 hours because the conversations were so good. I'm still like looking through the chat that got saved. But yeah, that was like the most exciting thing that I've done in a very long time. Actually, I really loved running it. I might run it again. Um, and yeah, so that's like the main thing. And then right now I'm just like building my expanding my audience, having conversations with people, being the introvert that I am. And yeah, I'm running my podcast as well.
Hmm. Lovely. And what is something that you're looking forward to now in your life, not in your business, but in your life? What phase are you very excited about?
Mm, I'm really excited that it's finally spring and that we can go out in Europe and like actually like not wear layers of clothes and look like an onion with all the layers. So I'm really excited about that. Like it's the snow finally almost melted. There's actually sun outside because I really do not like the fall when it's depressing and gloomy and it gets dark at 2 p.m. Like it's almost 2 p.m. right now actually here, so and it's still light and like I don't look like dark and grainy. So I'm really excited about that. And there's also a bunch of events that I'm going to be on. So I'm going to a conference next month to the UK, and then I'm speaking at an event in May at my friend's event in Bristol in the UK. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's actually going to be around confidence. It's going to be like a panel. So yeah, I think that's like one of the most exciting thing. And then my coach is going to be running a mastermind retreat in Spain in summer. So I'm really looking forward to that and meet all the like masterminders and my coach again.
Amazing. There's a lot of travel. So are
Yeah.
you fond of traveling?
Yeah, I love traveling. I started traveling pretty early. Actually, I was telling somebody the other day, the first like solo trip that I went to, I think I was 14 or 15 years old when my parents I think they had to send me with like a guardian through the plane because you're like I was like obviously underage. But I was traveling to Israel to see my grandparents because they lived there for almost 20 years.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was quite a trip. And then yeah, I think I just liked the idea of traveling. And I'm like, and we traveled with parents as well when I was like a kid. So we would always go on like trips to like Canary Islands and all sorts of stuff. So I'm like, now my parents say like, oh, you're always traveling. And I'm like, well, you instilled that in me. You gave me a taste of it when I was a kid. So now I can't get enough. So yeah, when I got into the business, and that's why I also never wanted to have a job because I'm like, I knew that I would be tied to one place. And now there are actually some exciting jobs that I see on the market where people like travel and they have like company retreats and remote workers and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that actually sounds a lot more fun than the jobs 10 years ago because it was not like that at all. But yeah, like the first trip I took when I got into network marketing business, I traveled to America when I was 20, like literally that month in January. I just turned 20 years old, and then like I think 2 weeks later I traveled. It was a really chaotic trip, but and scary as well because it was the first like across the pond trip because I would always just travel like Israel, Europe, London. Like I've gone to like my first conference I've gone to was in London in the UK. But yeah, that trip to America was actually terrifying, but it was fun.
And that speaks a lot about you, your journey about, considering you were so hesitant about speaking English, having an accent and all of that, to actually going literally to America and for the work that you were doing. So that's huge. And I'm glad that the 20-year-old Helena chose to keep going, chose to, be a self-led woman and world travel through the world and share her knowledge, share her wisdom, share her content. That is why we have you today to speak on this podcast, share your story. So tell us the most human part about Helena.
The most human part. That's a good question. I've never been asked that. The most human. Mm, that's a tough one. The most human. Mm, okay, so I'll use this story. So I'm an introvert like yourself as well. I've become more of an ambivert, I
Ambivert.
guess, like I'm a
Same.
mix of both
Yeah,
because I had to. I was like, okay, it's a people business, so I had to be
exactly.
had to be more of an
Exactly.
extrovert.
Yeah,
And I love events. Like I don't love huge gatherings. Like for me, going to a concert actually sounds like a nightmare because it's a
same.
bunch of strangers. Unless I would go with a friend,
Yeah.
it's terrifying. Like I've gone to a lot of like ice skating concerts here
Hmm.
locally, not concerts, ice skating shows.
Shows.
And the people, they just give me anxiety. And especially when it's like winter and everybody's in all these like jackets and coats, and it was too much. But again, being going to a conference where there's 500 people, or going to a like I've gone to network marketing events where there was like 8 or 10,000 people, it was okay. Surprisingly, again, because I was with friends, because we had our own little group of people that were going. So it wasn't like me by myself in like around 10,000 people. That would actually probably give me a lot of anxiety. But today, when I do go to events, which I do go to quite a lot of them, usually, and sometimes I stay with friends in hotels, right? Because it's fun. There's like a bunch of girl talk and all that kind of stuff. But after the events, I typically book a hotel just for myself for a day, just to decompress and to recharge my battery. So I like don't talk to anybody. I go out, drink some matcha. Like I still go around and like go to like a mall or something, and I am technically around people, but it's the day when I'm not talking to anybody. Like I'll reply to social media messages and stuff like that, but I don't get on calls. I don't meet anybody unless somebody really asks to go out for coffee or something. But in general, yeah, that's one thing that I do that actually does help to decompress after the events, and that's like I recommend it to every introvert.
Yeah, I totally relate to the entire story because I always say to my sister that I need a vacation from my vacation now. Like I need
Yes.
one day for with myself. And because of my human design as well, now that I get to understand myself, I'm a 2 by 4, so I am an introvert. Like, it's my design, and I've accepted it. Earlier, I used to think, yeah, I don't have enough friends and whatnot, and now I have. Like, I feel like I have more than enough friends. Like, I cannot have more people in my life in terms of friends. Like, of course, everything else, it's fine, but yeah, that's very human, and I also recommend everybody to have one single day after your holiday where you're just with yourself. It really helps you also assimilate everything that has happened. And I feel like you are also somebody who's an empath, right? So empath used to, and I also get like very I cannot see myself. So I'm in India, so we have a huge population, as you know, and Delhi is like, I live in a small town, so it's fine. Like, I can go anywhere and I feel fine. But when I go to Delhi, when I go into the metro, I feel drained for no reason at all, because there's just so many people, and yeah, I think I just soak in a lot of these energy, even though I work on my boundaries and I work on all of that, like even in the energetic sense, but it gets to you. And also, our nervous system is wired to not for all these are all the inputs that are going into our head, right? So our nervous system also works better when we are focused on one thing, one person. So yeah, that is also something additional. But it was such a pleasure to have you here, to have this conversation. I loved knowing you more, and I would love to invite you again, maybe in 6 months, to have an update about who you've become by then. And I would also link your identity gap masterclass in the description. So anybody who wants to check it out, they can check it out. I'm sure that so many people would want to know more about you, more about your journey. So I'll link all of that in the description. Any last words? What do you want to say? What's your story now that you have also gone through your story? What's your story? What you are bringing? What is your mission in this world?
There's one thing that I want to, well, two things that I want to say. Like the last words, because I kept thinking about it as we were, discussing like everything, is put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Because that's, again, I'm no therapist, so don't take it as a therapy advice. But if you are unhealed in any sort of area, the best therapy, in my opinion, is exposure therapy, where you're terrified of something, go do it. Like, even if you feel like you're sweating and everything like this, go do it. I did it multiple times. Going to America at the age of 20, freaking terrified. But I was like, you know what? I know enough English to get myself around. There was like a wild story where I missed my flight in America when I landed there because there was a bunch of connecting flights. So I was put in like on the spot for like it really tested my resilience and my like English abilities as well, and just like my character. But put yourself into uncomfortable positions, even situations, not positions, because that may sound wrong.
Yeah.
Whether it's calling somebody, getting in touch with the Shani, and getting yourself in front of the community. Because again, like it in the beginning when I was getting into like getting on somebody else's podcast or just getting visible in general, it was also terrifying for me in the beginning because I'm like, oh, like I have this accent, I don't know if people are gonna relate to my story. And then I've never really had a story from like rags to riches or
Mm.
from like healing some sort of like I've known some people who healed cancer and then they now live like a happily ever after life. Like I've never had like that kind of drastic transformation, but my story is I started young, right? And I started not knowing anything and I started from zero. And that's usually my superpower that I lead my clients with. I'm like, if I could do it with zero marketing experience, no education, technically, like I never went to college, I don't have degrees, I don't have any of that. Like I got certified as a business coach, but people don't ever ask for that. Like they usually resonate with your story, they buy into you first. So that's why I love this interview also so much and the concept of you doing it here, because people relate with your story, because there's a million people or maybe like hundreds of thousands of people who are selling a very similar service, who are doing, who are in the same industry, who are doing the same thing you're doing, but not everybody is going to relate to them, but they are going to relate to you. So put yourself into uncomfortable situations, because that also forces you to grow and to heal. And I think there is like such a like exposure therapy in like psychology as well, where if you're afraid of spiders, put the spider on your hand. So even though I would that's where I draw the line. I would not do that. Like, no, thank you. Like, I'll book a one-way ticket to a country I've never been to and then figure it out on the way. I'll like build a parachute. I've done it multiple times. But putting a spider on, no. But like, yeah, put yourself into uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, I love that. But I just want to also give a disclaimer that what we are talking about is not like abuse. Okay, so it's not about
Yeah.
abuse, it's about exposure therapy when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to these beliefs about I'm not enough, who am I to do business and all of that. That is I have done this with my clients a lot. Like, we really do exposure therapy inside my programs because it really helps you have the audacity, because you're like, I've done this, I can do it again, and it gives your nervous system also the evidence to believe that it's possible for you, right? But again, a disclaimer that this is not about any kind of abuse that you've gone through, because for that, you really need another kind of healing. Yeah, just wanted to give that disclaimer. But for anybody who's a coach, who wants to build their own business, who want to be on front of camera, who want to share the story, please go ahead. Like, that's the only way you can do it, by doing it. Right? And yeah, I will link everything about Helena in the description. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I loved getting to know you more. And yeah, let's yeah, I would bring you back again sooner
Thank you.
than
It's been such a
later.
good conversation. I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, take care. Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.